right, so we're moving into rooted. Rooted. This is our pelvic yoga therapy class. And if you know that you have something specific going on within your pelvic bowl, know that again, your awareness is powerful. And as we move through class, you're welcome to move deeper, come out sooner, do more, do less, modify it altogether, depending on what you feel. And we're going to focus mostly on awareness for this first few weeks through December 2022. So laying supine, meaning face up, belly up. Let's have feet grounded, please, thank you. Soles of the feet grounded, knees bent. And if it feels welcome, I invite you to touch your sit bones or any of your pelvic bones. So through self-touch, it creates more awareness in our mind, a better map in our brain for that part of our body, which then can help us have more command over this part of our body when we can actually feel it and sense it. So we have our pubic bone at the front of our pelvis. You can gently cup your hand around the mons pubis, kind of upper labia, glands of the clitoris, and simply sense that there's bone behind those tissues. And the pubic bone bridge, when we're standing, offers support for our bladder. So I'm not massaging or poking, prodding, doing anything specific with my hand. I'm just resting my hand so that I can rest my attention into the front part of my pelvic bowl. Noticing any sensations, thoughts, pictures, emotions that arise. You can always move your hand. Good. And then sensing from the pubic bone back diagonally to one sit bone. So you have the choice to leave your pubic bone hand there and then add sit bone touch, or rest your pubic bone hand and bring one hand down to the sit bone. And so those are connected. Those are a bony bridge that connects pubic bone to sit bone. One long diagonal sweep of bone coming back into the sit bone. Make sure you touch both sides. So give yourself a little time with your second sit bone. You can always do this in bed or in the shower or other moments of your day as well. So sensing the sit bones, and in your mind's eye or create a picture of a laser light beam between your sit bones. Or imagining that if the sit bones were magnetic, drawn toward each other, that there is an energy, a sense of support between the sit bones from the deep pelvic diaphragm. And then resting against the ground, we have our sacrum. Follow the pressure or contact from your sacrum, curving downward to find the tip of your tailbone. And then create another picture or line of energy from the tip of your tailbone to the inside of your pubic bone. So we have a vertical line front to back, a horizontal line side to side between the sit bones, and that creates a diamond of the pelvic bowl. Pubic bone is the top or front of the diamond. Sit bones create the width, the sides, and the tailbone is the back. So with our pelvis resting on the floor, we're going to allow a small pelvic tilt, rolling forward and back. So rolling your tail out or feeling your low back curve go away from the ground. And then the whole pelvis will roll back. You might feel your low belly firm a little bit or your low back come into the mat. So simple, small pelvic tilt, letting the ground receive the weight of your pelvis the whole time. So we're not bridging like we did in boost. Pelvis is heavy and rolls smoothly forward and back. You might notice that when you roll the wheel forward, the pelvic diamond expands. Take a big breath. And then as you start your exhale, let the wheel roll back and you'll feel the pelvic diamond gather or consolidate inward and upward. Not really a Kegel, but noticing, oh, when I move, these tissues get moved. They get taken through a full range of lengthening and engaging. Go one more round, inhale, roll forward, drop the tail into the floor like you're rolling it out, long red carpet. And then coiling back in, finding that sense of connection through the low belly, maybe a sense of gathering upward, inward, and then rest. Let it go. Feel your low back curve return, whatever amount of little bit of space there is allowed and welcome. And we're going to see throughout this next little while, we're going to see if we can maintain a pretty quiet or still or stable sense of our trunk. So both hips, both shoulders, and the amount of space that our low back has changes very little, even though we're going to do some movement with our legs. Okay, so if it's helpful, you can bring your fingers to your hip crease. We're going to let our feet stay on the floor. Roll towards the pinky edge of your feet to take your knees apart. Nice and easy. And then gradually draw the knees back together and feel the big toe side of your foot land into the floor again. So small, dynamic butterfly motion. Knees go apart. See if you can time it so that each side opens the same amount. And then draw the knees back together. That magnetic quality kind of compelled towards the midline. And you can let your breath do what it wants. You might allow your breath to coordinate with the movement, expanding on inhale, knees go away. And then start your exhale to draw the knees toward each other. Try that one more round if you're exploring that breath pattern. You can continue with that, or I'll give one more option. So from parallel, take a full breath in. Start your exhale and feel some support through your midline as the knees open. So exhale to open, keep exhaling to draw the knees together. And then once they're together, pause, let go of the effort, breathe in. Start your exhale. Then the knees move apart. Keep exhaling through the whole range of motion. And then once you're back together, parallel, rest and breathe in. Just one more round. Breathe how it works best for you or what feels interesting. And then once you find your way back to parallel, land both feet into the ground. Check in with your low back. your shoulders, your jaw. And we're going to do a single leg march. So similar to the ninja balance where we came into hip crease, we're going to drop the hip crease down, deep, soft, squishy, while the knee floats up. And we want to check in with that efficiency first. That flexing at the hip can be easeful, trunk, low back, rib cage, still, quiet, piece of cake. If we're getting that grippy, crampy feeling at the hip flexor or compensations of tension anywhere else, we're just going to work here for a little while, and that's okay. We want to get this dialed in first. If you are noticing like, yeah, my jaw is cool, my shoulders are grounded, I can do this pretty easily, deep, soft, squishy hip crease, then go ahead and add on. One side finds your hip crease, leave that foot floating. Other leg joins, both legs hip creased. And finding a place where your femurs are straight up and down. So we're not doing knees hugging to belly. That's a different motion. We're trying to find that plumb line of gravity through the thigh bones. Heels resting towards your bum. So knees really bent. And then breathe there and notice what you notice. If it still feels relatively efficient and easeful, you might add on toe tapping. A big toe taps the floor and then reel that knee back in. Very little change through your low back curve. You might feel kind of a wrapping, hugging sensation around your waist. That's your TA, transversus abdominis. Eyes and jaw still hanging out, la, 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 no big deal. Put the effort back down through the low belly. You can rest anytime. If you want to add on, come back to that baseline, both hips creased, double leg hanger metaphor for those of you that are familiar with that. It's like your knees are slacks folded over a sturdy wood hanger, and your leg muscles are the nice iron silky slacks hanging down. Okay. So from there, legs stay, hip creases, deep, soft, squishy, can support the back of your head. We're going to do what's called a yoga sit-up. This is from my teacher, Scott Anderson. So we're going to engage the shoulder blades down, armpits back, to then start to carry our head off the floor. That's kind of like a Ferris wheel. The upper arm bones support into retraction, into the floor, and that downward motion through the underarm creates the upward lift through the cradle of your hands and the back of your skull. Breathing deeply while you're there. You'll feel rectus abdominis switch on more. That's on purpose. If you feel bearing down or pressure through your pelvic floor, maybe you drop one foot or both feet and breathe more fully, letting your breath help manage that pressure internally. Good. Last big inhale, exhale. Slowly setting your head back down. If your feet were still floating, set your feet down as well. Take a little windshield wiper side to side to let that go. If you're feeling the neck muscles a little bit, that also is okay. So the well-intentioned cue that we sometimes get with sit-ups of let your neck relax or don't use your neck muscles, they are the same myofascial link, so to speak, that we talked about during plank. That looping quality from tail to pubic bone to navel to sternum is the lower portion of that deep midline or deep front line support. The neck all the way into the abdomen is one and the same. So it's okay if we're feeling some strength or effort in the front of the neck. If it's strained, that's different, and we can talk through that. Good. Take a moment to find your way to your side. We'll do just a little bit of movement from tabletop, child's pose, and down dog, and then find a way to rest to finish up for this morning. So far, so good? Great. Use whatever you want for cushion for your knees, shins, hands. You can do blocks for your hands, whatever you need. So the pelvic diamond that we traced and touched is now in a different orientation. We're still shining the diamond to the wall behind us, but we're no longer resting on our sacrum. Now we've got the femur heads, the thigh bones supporting up into the pelvis. Have a moment with your breath, full expansive rib circumference, breathing in, and you might feel the pelvic diamond receive that inhale. And then full exhale, ribs narrow and condense. You might feel a similar narrowing or condensing through the perineal body or the pelvic floor. So one more breath excursion. Lungs fill, breath moves down, ribs expand, pelvic diamond expands. And then on the exhale, everything narrows, condenses, draws inward. So letting that be the initiation for cat-cow, a movement that most of us have probably done thousands, hundreds, or thousands of times. But letting it come from pelvic awareness and or breath excursion awareness. Breath excursion just means I'm breathing deeply enough, consciously enough, that my breath includes pelvic awareness. There's a responsive quality all the way down to the basement, the floor. And that can generate the movement of your whole spine through cat-cow, feeling connected and supported from the tail upwards, and then long and released from the crown of the head to the tail, wagging back into extension. Good, last round. Big ol' inhale, gazing forward, tail up, sit bones wide. Pause there for a moment to release your abdomen, let your belly relax. And then consciously start your exhale, eyes down, chin down. Reset to neutral, find that strength or containment through your trunk. Good. From there, we're gonna wag your feet to one side, look at your toes, and then move through center, wag your feet the other way, look at your toes. Just that much a few times. So you're feeling that side body awareness. One side lengthens while the other condenses or shortens. And you could feel or imagine this like wagging your tail, sending your tail side to side. Good. Moving to the right, walk your hands across to the right side of your mat. Big ol' exhale, and then find center. Walk your hands through. Wag your tail, your feet, the crown of your head. Walk your hands to the left, so the hands are underneath your shoulders. Nice full breath in and out. And then find center. Good. As we take child's pose, if you want a little variation, you could use a prop, a bolster, blocks, whatever it might be. So we're going to sit back, and with the hands elevated a little higher than the floor, we can get a little bit more range of motion or length through the shoulder girdle. You can leave your arms apart, parallel, or start to walk your hands together, maybe prayer hands with the pinky edge of your hands against the prop or the floor. And finding that nice length of your hips sitting back while your fingers are reaching forward. A little bit of healthy tension or opposition. Fingers reaching forward in space while your hips sit back. Deep, soft, squishy hip creases. You might feel your belly resting against your thighs. And that creates a little pressure so that the breath excursion is going to move into your low back and back ribs, maybe also into the back of your pelvic bowl. So if the front belly is contained or has pressure from your thighs, just notice how your breath is going to move somewhere else. Good. You're welcome to stay another breath or two if you'd like. If you're feeling complete with that, shift your props away. Come back through table. And from tabletop, we're going to tuck our toes under. Shift weight back into the feet, hips creased, pelvic floor widens. Kind of like loading, ready to pounce. Nice yawning stretch through the soles of the feet, maybe a little shift side to side. And then take a little push forward, back to table. The next time you sit back, then let your legs push and find your down dog. We'll be here just for a few moments, a few breaths. You're welcome to pedal through the feet and ankles. Maybe a little nodding of your head, yes. Or horse lips, releasing the jaw. And then find a moment, maybe a breath or two in relative stillness. Allowing the pelvic diamond, that pubic bone, sit bone, tailbone diamond, to shine up and back diagonally to the wall behind you. If you need a little tiny micro bend in your knees to find that more easily, go ahead. Let your knees have a tiny bend so you can emphasize the hip crease and the motion back through the pelvic diamond. Releasing the back of the neck into the length of the crown of your head and then come down. Good. Nice. To finish our practice, you might return to child's pose. You might take a more restful, supported version of child's pose. Maybe sit on a prop for your forehead. Go without the length of the arms that we did on the first round. It's a little bit more passive and restorative approach. Or you're welcome to go side lying or face up for Shavasana. Finding a way to support yourself where you can really feel and confirm internally, I'm comfortable. This works for me for the next minute or two. Trusting your instincts to adjust if need be to find more comfort. And then allowing yourself, choosing with your attention to now become still. Invite yourself into a bit of quietness. Feeling your breath wash in and wash out. And dropping into Santosha, contentment. Once again, that there's nowhere else you need to be. There's no right or wrong way to be or to breathe in this moment. Trusting that whether we're here for pelvic health or movement, fitness, wellness, whatever our intent is for showing up with this practice, trusting that rest is a key component. We do our good work, we focus and practice skillfully, and then we surrender it. We drop back into being.